when I was still working in Taichung many years ago. Live on an old street on the edge of the city. I heard that it used to be a prosperous small urban area. It is also the only way to reach the city. But later, after the road was rebuilt, the route to the city has also changed as a result. The traffic that should have passed through this street to reach the city, almost all of them turned out in advance on the previous road. It's starting to get deserted here. So the rent is getting cheaper and cheaper. The room I rented is an antique shop on the first floor. The second floor is planned to be 2 suites, bounded by the stairway. Divide the room into one before and one after. I followed the landlord to the second floor on the day of the house inspection. The landlord looks almost ripe old, slightly hunched back. Despite this, his pace of climbing the stairs is still steady. Walking speed is not inferior to that of young people. After going up to the second floor, I found that the door of the back room was ajar. At this time, the landlord stood at the entrance of the stairs facing the back room with his head down. "Put your hands in your pockets looking for the key." I thought he was going to rent me the back room. So I naturally walked back. Unexpectedly, he suddenly stretched out his arm to stop me. Then he stopped me in his low and hoarse voice. "Hey!" I looked at him immediately. He shook his head and told me it was not this one. "And point your thumb in the opposite direction to the room. But I personally prefer the one in the back. Mainly far from the road. This will be quieter. Besides, I just noticed. The room at the back end is empty. There are only some basic furniture inside. There are no personal belongings on the table either. The bed in the room has no sheets either. Like an idle state." So I asked the landlord, "Uncle, is there anyone living in the back room?" He shook his head and said back to me that he had moved away. I feel very excited to hear this news. So I asked the landlord with great interest, "Can I rent this room?" After a moment of silence, the landlord reluctantly responded to me, "Okay." He took me into the room and walked around and gave me the key. I am very satisfied with this room. It's just that I found the top inside and outside the door. Each put a peace symbol that looks like a peace symbol from the temple. I didn't care very much at first. Think this may have been left by the previous tenant, right? So first remove them and hang them above the wall at the entrance of the stairs. After entering this room, directly in front is a desk leaning against the wall. The window is above the desk. The corner next to the desk is my bed. In front of the bed is a wardrobe. The bathroom and toilet are on the left-hand side after the door enters. Everything was safe and sound in the early days of moving in. The only strange thing is that the landlord asks me about my living experience from time to time. I often ask me with concern, "How are you living? If you are uncomfortable, you can change to the one in front. Tell me if you have any questions." Wait. But I did live comfortably during that time. So I always answer that I am very used to and very good at living. But when I started to feel something was wrong. I have lived for about half a year or so. After taking a shower one night, after I finished typing on the computer, I went to bed and it was close to 12 o'clock. I lie down for 3 seconds to fall asleep. I don't know how long I've been asleep. I was suddenly awakened by a sound. But I'm not completely awake, in a state of half dreaming and half waking. What woke me up was the sound of water dripping on the floor. At first I thought it was the shower head in the bathroom dripping water. Just got up and walked to check. When I entered the bathroom, I found that the sound was not in the bathroom, but in the area of the table and bed outside. So I walked out of the bathroom again and came between the table and the bed to listen. That's not right. The sound is obviously in the bathroom, so I went into the bathroom again to listen. I also observed that the shower head was really not dripping water. So I want to say if I heard it wrong. I went back to bed and lay down. But it didn't take long for me to hear the sound of water droplets again. Appear once in a long time. Almost 10 seconds apart. Can't find the source of the sound. This happens every 2 or 3 days. Even when I'm playing with the computer. Sometimes I encounter weird situations. Because I'm used to shirtless after taking a shower. So sit at the table. As long as you are touched by anything behind your back. The touch will be very obvious. Sometimes playing. Suddenly I feel something sweeping behind me. And it will appear from time to time. At first I thought it was just bugs or mosquitoes. It was later when I moved out of this house. I didn't know until I had a girlfriend. In fact, this touch is the long hair sweeping past from behind. But I didn't know at the time. Just keep dialing by hand. One night about 2 or 3 weeks later. I was lying in bed reading a novel. Suddenly feel sleepy, just close your eyes and rest for a while. Unexpectedly, I accidentally fell asleep. Wait until I'm conscious. I heard the sound of water droplets falling on the floor again. And slowly approached me all the way from the door. Finally the voice stopped by my bed. Ringing drop by drop. I was awake at this time, but my eyes were still closed. And it's very obvious that the voice is right behind me. Originally I slept facing the wall. Because I really want to confirm what the sound is. I want to say that there are no ghosts in this world anyway. So I first turned my body around. Then took a deep breath. I made up my mind to open my eyes and see what was going on. What do you think you should open your eyes to see? Correct. I opened my eyes. What I saw was a bloody face. Look at me with your head sideways and your eyes wide open. I was completely stunned. The blood on that face slipped from her face drop by drop. Is a female ghost with long hair. I was frightened by her and panicked and hid in the corner. All the quilts and feet on his body kicked indiscriminately to the side of the bed. I haven't even had time to call out. When the quilt falls to the ground. Only to find out that she is no longer by my bed. But slowly drifting backwards. Her eyes are extremely vicious. As if warning me that she might show up again at any time. Bring me deeper fear and threat. In the end, she also disappeared into the wall of the bathroom. At the same time, it also took away the terrifying atmosphere. I sat in the corner and didn't know what to do for a while. I can't even remember how long I sat stupidly. When I get back to God, there is an intuition that tells me that she is really not here anymore. Because the feeling and atmosphere of the scene are back to reality. No longer that kind of eerie space. I hurriedly got up and put on my clothes. Took the key to the mobile phone wallet. Rushed out without thinking, then ride to a nearby supermarket to buy a bottle of drink. Find a seat there and sit down and catch your breath. After looking at the time on the phone, I knew it was more than 4 o'clock in the morning. I happen to have a friend who works nearby and is on the night shift. He gets off work at 4:30 in the morning. I rode over to his place of work again and waited for him to get off work. Ask him if he can borrow the house for a night's sleep. He did not hesitate to agree. When I went back to his rental house with him, just told him that there is a problem with my room. My friend suggested that I stay with him for a few days first. It doesn't matter if you leave and you find a new rental place. So in the morning I rode back to clean up the room. Move all your things away. Stayed with a friend for 2 weeks. I won't be back until the end of the month to deal with the lease refund. Go back to the day when you turn the key and get the deposit. I told the landlord directly. I saw a woman hanging upside down in that room. As a result, the landlord only pursed his lips and didn't speak. Turn around and open his drawer. Took a small red bag that looked like a sachet and handed it to me. I thought this thing was weird at first glance. This is a girl's item, right? I waved my hand and told him no thanks. Turn around and leave in a hurry. To this day, I occasionally think of the sachet. I don't know if I accept it. What will happen?